base rather than a rational base. So if you make, if I'm talking to you and trying to get something, I get all emotional with the fear and the this and that. That's a propaganda argument.
Right.
And I think that they are, and some of them are real good at it.
Yes.
You know, and it's an art form and that kind of thing. So I'm not trying to run them down, the people in the journalism department who are into the PR stuff, but they're learning to be good propagandists.
Do you think that journalists are really doing their job today? It seems to be there are a lot of cases where journalists just sort of want to get invited to the right parties, and so they seem to get lazy. You know?
I've noticed this about just, you know, like I say, I don't have a whole big career in this thing, but there's a lot of self-aggrandizement goes on. And I made the mistake.
Oh, Wolf Blitzer from CNN?
I'm talking about from right here. Okay. But I've made the mistake one time referring to a reporter, you know, and oh boy, I was corrected there. They're journalists. And then some of the things that have been written by people it's as though they're elitist. They have an elitist point of view. Like they don't want to get down and grub around here with the you know, with the blue collar or the poor folks and the, you know, the ones with they're fat and have bad teeth or whatever. You know, I mean, those are the people, and you got to communicate with them and those into those social worlds.
Hell yeah!
I say stuff that they've written. It's just been looking down their nose and that kind of thing. I always referred to myself as the newspaper guy, you know, in town. I don't want to be. I didn't want to be considered a journalist. That's me personally, because the way I deal.
Yeah.
See, my background in dealing with people is social world, using the jargon of sociology.
Right.
You know, we have social worlds. We go into those social worlds. We try to see what it means. You know, who's defining the situation?
Right.
How do we define the situation? Who's defining it? Is their definition going to prevail?
Right.
And that people's actions are determined by the situation they're in. Those kinds of things.
Right.
And we have the same kind of things. They call them interviewees. We call them informants. You know, in the social world. And many of the interview techniques are the same. Many of the ways, you know, you approach what's happening are the same. It's just that from the sociological perspective, you have a discipline that's based on theory and research.
Yeah.
And some of the absolute best sociological writings are by journalists.
Right.
And there's no doubt about that. But those are exceptions. And I think a lot of the you know, the Gonzo idea was, I thought, you know, has its pros and cons, but I like the Gonzo idea. You get in there, you can't deny the fact that you're involved. You know, in sociology, we talk about participant observation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you're involved in something and yet you're still observing it.
Right.
Which is a little bit different than trying to talk about pure objectivism and stuff like that. Not long ago, I read Fire on, the snake handler story. Anyway, faith on salvation, on faith on Fire Mountain or whatever. That's a good story of a journalist that goes in and you know But anyway, that's you know, the media is an interesting thing of how it affects our lives. I study it. I don't know. It's a pretty big thing in many people's lives, but in many it's just superfluous.
I think some of the best writing comes from smaller newspapers.
Well,
I'm not impressed, and I know it's kind of a slam, but I think there's too much writing by rote in larger newspapers because they have to write in a certain style. But in smaller newspapers, especially because I come from an alternative newspaper background, and my belief is always, I wish more history books would come from people who'd collect their writings, people who worked in alternative newspapers, because that's a truer vision of history than people who just write just straight facts, because I think people who actually delve into things can give you a more colorful image of what's going on.
Yeah, since I don't come from that journalism background, working with interns or people who write for us, I just say, get in there and, you know, put a good lead sentence in so people want to read it, and then just go at it, you know. Yeah. And the idea is to make it descriptive, informative, entertaining, however you want to do it. That whole idea of the inverted pyramid kind of thing, you know how that got started, didn't you? In the Civil War, and they would, you know, like if you go into a meeting, you say you think about doing it chronologically. Here, this happened, then this happened, because every action's based on the previous action. Right. But when they were writing the stories up about the battles, they would do it that way. But then the publishers would realize that, well, they might need the room to cut off something at the bottom and put in an advertisement, right? Oh. So they said, well, we can't do that, cut it off at the bottom, because at the bottom we're told who won the battle. Oh,
so that's why I put everything in this first paragraph.
The important stuff, who won the battle first, and then they kind of work down to the lesser stuff.
Okay.
But we don't worry with that anymore. We're not doing that. So, I don't think it's an absolute rule to the inverted pyramid. If you want to write it chronologically, then okay, or however, or from your personal point of view. Or
I think sometimes it's important to tell a story.
To tell the story.
And to hook them in and to tell a good story. And a lot of times I just despair when I read something that just isn't. I hate bad writing. And sometimes I want to just want to go to someone's house and say, why are you writing?
Yeah, that's why I don't think journalistic writing is what we need to talk about. We need to talk about good writing.
Yeah.
And whether it's you can tell the story, engage people, and you can make complicated things simple.
Right.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
And you can, it's a kind of a complicated thing, and you can make it so a ninth grade can understand it and not feel being talked down to, and
Right.
I don't know why they need a journalism school to teach that. I mean, you could teach that in English class or anything,
I don't know. I think all journalists should have to take a creative writing class.
Yeah. Well, now they're talking. I think they're heading that way to some extent. But I think they've puffed themselves up a little bit in the journalism school.
Yeah. See, everybody used to be just reporters.
Well, you look at the history of the thing. It was the guy who knew. Had the police beat. He knew all the prostitutes were and where the bar. Hung out in the bar to steal. Yeah. There was no college education or anything like that.
No, you didn't want to hang out at the parties. You didn't want to hang out with the elected officials.
Right.
You didn't want to, because it was like, I just think a lot of times people pull their punches and they're too polite to people. And I just don't think you.
Well, I think a lot in journalism school, what goes on, like in so many of these professions, is they're there. One of the purposes is to make their networks. So they can get the job and who to send the resume to. There's a lot of interest in that. But and you got to remember it's a VOTEC.
Yeah.
It's VOTEC. Journalism is not an academic discipline.
Maybe that comes a lot of times from the personal backgrounds of the people, the students who go into the journalism too. Maybe if they come from a working class background, they might have a different view of it than someone who doesn't have a working class background. So.
It's like so many things, and the universities have gotten. I'm not making a big broad stroke here or anything like that, but there can be disassociation with, like you say, the working class, and what people want to avoid that. They don't even want to use that term anymore,
I know, and then the working class gets resentful towards educated people. So you get this big chasm there, So, well, Steve, listen, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
So, and I hope that people check out the Observer online.
Come online, and we've also got just started the newsletter. I said you send in your email address, and you'll get the newsletter every week, and it'll highlight things that are on the website. And that's about all. I've enjoyed it. I've known you for years and years. You never got to interview me.
I'm a lot taller in real life, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Now we're just. Okay, that was great. Looks like I'm picking my nose. Okay. Okay. All right, I wasn't paying attention. Let's do that again.
Hi, I'm Kelly Eubanks. I'm from Unite Against the War on Women, Arkansas, and you are watching Fayetteville Public Access Television.
Members of the American Postal Workers Union handle more than 165 billion letters and packages a year. That's about 34 million pounds of mail every day. Ever wonder what this costs you as a taxpayer? Millions? Tens of millions? Hundreds of millions? Not a single cent. The United States Postal Service doesn't run on your tax dollars. It's funded solely by stamps and postage. Brought to you by the men and women of the American Postal Workers Union.
This is just one of the many parts you can play as a young Red Cross volunteer. Volunteer and play your part.
It was a scary day. Okay, on the lighter side, something completely irreverent. Also new, so I'm halfway in between memorizing and reading it off the page. Used to be you had to renounce all worldly possessions, hop a steamer to India, brave monsoons and dysentery, locate a Swami at the top of a mountain, sit humbly at his feet for a decade or two before you'd even see the first mile marker on the road to spiritual enlightenment. Now there are convenient enlightenment plans available for people of all ages, spiritual persuasions, and income brackets. You can order a ready-made guru, Meher Baba, Sai Baba, Baba Ram Das, or Seth, or choose from a wide variety of do-it-yourself options. Ayurveda, Avatar, Course in Miracles, even holotropic breathwork. That's right, use your Visa card to breathe, dance, or with Tantric Yoga, blissfully copulate your way to higher consciousness. Why bother with years of prayer and meditation, fasting and selflessness, when for the cost of a book tape or at most a weekend seminar, you too can achieve spiritual mastery, and now more than ever at low, low discount prices. You don't even have to seek enlightenment anymore. Like it or not, enlightenment is coming to you, channeled through the U.S. mail. Every week comes a glossy new package promising peace, prosperity, bliss, and a soulmate in just 30 days or your money back. Deepak Chopra alone is shoved down our throats with all the marketing enthusiasm applied to the latest in deodorant technology. Since when do gurus need mass marketing anyway? Used to be their miracles spoke for themselves, effortlessly reaching masses of disaffected seekers without need of a bulk mailing permit. In the old days, people went to doctors when they got sick. But it's the 90s, and your doctor is a health maintenance organization. And they aren't very successful with new age diseases like mine. Oh, I won't bore you with my personal tragedy. Let's just say I've had this intractable illness since before souls needed chicken soup. Even my MD ran out of prescriptions that didn't work anyway. My acupuncturist lost faith in her needles, and my dowser's pendulum stopped swinging. What else could I do? I went ahead and booked a trip to the Amazon where I'll find a native shaman who will blow magic herbs up my nose, which will make me hallucinate prophetic pre-Columbian visions explaining the truth about what is surely a psycho-spiritual malady, because studies show that viruses don't kill people, people kill themselves with negative thought patterns. So now I'm preparing for this vision quest, and I'm researching arcane ethnobotanical literature and dusty libraries and incense-heavy metaphysical bookstores, and I think I'm so special and so evolved and so new age, I'm stone age, till one day I'm clicking through cyberspace only to virtually trip over an ayahuasca vine of the Incan gods homepage, for Christ's sake. Shamanic healing is all over the net, and I'm practically the last to know. But hey, looky here. For only $1,500, I can have a genuine shamanic experience in the Peruvian rainforest in the comfort of a beautiful mahogany riverboat with the Wild Mushroom Traveling Roadshow. And it's just not the same, is it? When spiritual paths are hawked like Caribbean cruises on the Home Shopping Network, when slick guru promos overflow our mailboxes, when the Amazon reveals her deepest and theogenic mysteries online, there's nothing left to do and nowhere left to go but thank you very much.
Some of the best songs are the songs that are stories that are based on true stories. And true stories by far seem to be more fabulous than anything And this is one of those stories. Grab a chair and rest your feet. I've a little tale to tell, full of drama, full of danger. Listen hard and listen well. It's a story of a bank robber, smart and quick lady. Her name's unknown, crime remains an unsolved mystery. She wore a see-through blouse, it was no big disguise, but the teller that she robbed couldn't quite believe his eyes. She wore a sheer and see-through blouse, trimmed with fancy lace, but poor bank teller never once glanced upon her face. She boldly strode into the bank, the day was bright and sunny. With gun in hand, made the demand, give me all your money. The teller was afraid, he was quick with her request. After all, it's rather frightening being held by a press. She wore a see-through blouse, it was no big disguise, but the teller that she robbed couldn't quite believe his eyes. She wore a sheer and see-through blouse, trimmed with fancy lace, that poor bank teller never once glanced upon her face. He made quick work to fill her bags with money from his drawer, and with no one else the wiser, she walked right out that door. Then he sounded the alarms, and the cops came right away, asking for a full description, but all that he could say was, "Oh, sure, see-through blouse." It was no big disguise, but the teller that she robbed couldn't quite believe his eyes. She wore a sheer and see-through blouse, trimmed with fancy lace, that poor bank teller never once glanced upon her face. Now that wealthy lady bank robber is roaming free today. She understood the system well and how to make it pay. So let this be a warning to all who are obsessed. Better turn around to thinking and get it up your chest. She wore a see-through blouse, it was no big disguise, but the teller that she robbed couldn't quite believe his eyes. She wore a sheer and see-through blouse, trimmed with fancy lace, that poor bank teller never once glanced upon her face.
This last one I'm going to read for you is called Hot Springs. At dawn, a gray couple beats their engines into submission, hoping none will fail them between exits. By noon, the Ozark Plateau is a spent breath. The coastal plain glitters with motel neon, requires a few more feet between nude dancer and voyeur to be legal. Diamonds wait far below the dirty hands of diggers. The driver